This is the Wiz Alex. I'll be talking about the sport tourism discussion. And the first question is, what are the arguments for and against a city hosting the Olympics? For the argument for a city hosting the Olympics is the Olympics generate a lot of revenue and a lot of people not only in the country but potentially people outside of the United States can travel to whatever city that they're in, and they can generate a lot of revenue for the city, especially a poor city. And another argument for the Olympics in your city is that the buildings that are not used, you can rebuild them or use them, and they can also generate. You can generate a lot of sales essentially for your city, and that can help your city with like building schools or building more community parks or community schools and etc. And against a city, it depends on what city, to be honest, for both for and against. If you're in a city like Los Angeles, we'll be hosting the Olympics in a couple of years. Los Angeles already generates probably the most revenue or second most revenue in the United States after New York City. So Los Angeles don't really need the money per se, because they already generate a lot of revenue because of celebrities living there, the amount of movies shot made there, and a bunch of sports teams in Los Angeles in that area, like the Rams, the Chargers, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Los Angeles Kings, the Dodgers, the Los Angeles Angels. All those teams are in Los Angeles. Those are a lot of teams in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles generates revenue just for sports alone. So I see it's like Los Angeles don't really need to host it, but see, like I'll say major city like St. Louis probably needs the money more because we're not as big as Los Angeles, and St. Louis economic wise is not as, we don't generate as much revenue as Los Angeles, and that's mainly because we're not as big of a city. So a city like St. Louis will benefit a lot. And another argument against is that it depends on like the type of violence is in the city. Like St. Louis is known for being a very violent city, so that can draw away people. So, and the last question is, what has nostalgic sports tourism popular? And I'll say because a lot of people want to know the history of sports, of the sport they're interested in, because it's a mystique that goes around certain sports, and I believe that people want to know more about the sport they want to be in because that can help them. And like myself, I love basketball, and I wasn't around when certain players like Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson or Wilt Chamberlain were playing, but I want to get a taste of that nostalgic because I want to learn more history about basketball, because people think that basketball started in the 80s and 90s, but basketball been played since the 1940s. And I wish people around my age would study more or like know more about the history of the game, because there's a lot of people out there who don't really know about the older era, and they like disrespect the older era because the game wasn't as revolution. The game wasn't as complex as it is now. So that's all I have to say. And this was a good discussion, and everybody have a good night.